I'd like to introduce Barry Reynard. It appears that I'm the only one who doesn't know Barry, but this is all new to me. Barry has returned to Kenora after retiring as Director of Sport and Special Events with Tourism Dawson Creek, following 12 years with the City of Dawson Creek as the General Manager of Community Service and over 30 years experience in municipal and provincial government positions. Barry is a University of Waterloo graduate with a degree in Honors Recreation, a university athlete with 4 years OUAA playing experience with the Waterloo Warriors men's hockey team. He coached and has been active in the sport of hockey for the past 40 years, chairing numerous task teams and committees in coach programs and leadership roles in both male and female athletic development. Currently, Barry is a member of the Hockey Canada Board of Directors with over 20 years of board experience, including chairing of the former Hockey Development Committee. Barry moved from Dawson Creek, BC to Kenora with retirement from municipal governance to his hometown this past July. After a brief break, he became the current coordinator of Triple Play. Barry was also a former Rotarian in Kenora and managed the Department of Community Services for the City of Kenora from 1999 to 2006. Barry is here today to provide an update on the challenges and opportunities facing Triple Play with the current COVID restrictions on sport, recreation, arts, and cultural activities for kids and youth in our communities. Welcome, Barry.
And thank you for that. Are we good? Sheila, you can hear? We're good. Okay, and Sheila, we'll be all set up to, are you able to share the screen with the slides then? We'll go right in. I just want to thank Sheila for the opportunity, and Sheila approached the opportunity to address the Rotary. It's great to be back. As some do recall, I was a Rotarian in Kenora and also did, I believe, almost 5 years Rotary in Dawson Creek before I was very busy with the Board of Hockey Canada. But I can't tell you how excited it is to be back, and hopefully someday we can cross. Joining me today as well as Barb Jackson, Chair of Triple Play, Suzanne Penner, a long-standing executive member, and 2 members of the Rotary today as well are on our board, Darcia Curtis and Sheila Reed. And the representation we have today also supports our advocacy team, and we have a number of people within our community with great knowledge and passion for the cause of our community kids. I'm here today to provide a quick update on the challenges and opportunities facing Triple Play and some of the current restrictions with COVID, which we're seeing, and basically the impacts throughout our community and across the country. So as we start and get into our quick conversation, the presentation today, we showed the video. I'm going to give a little bit of an update on Triple Play. But I think, when we really look at what Rotary stands for, and there's probably not a person on this video today that hasn't got a child story, a children sharing projects that you've done. Your splash park is incredible. There's no barriers that separates kids that want to play to go to the park, and it's absolutely incredible. And your recent projects, and I look at a number of people on this list, and I can see Ron and Claire out of the corner on there, and the number of years that you put into figure skating and the traveling and commitment that we do with our kids is incredible. So Triple Play, we're going to talk about some of the current COVID impacts. I think people will be surprised today as we share just how busy the executive has been. I've only been working since December. I think, actually January, middle of January, and it just every day I wake up with a passion to look and the biggest reason coming back was what's similar to every one of us do on this video and this call today. We care about our community. We care about what's happened not only locally, but internationally, and what we feel as volunteers and what we contribute. So I want to talk a little bit about some of our realignment discussions that we're doing within our advocacy group and our executive, and share some thoughts and see if we have any final questions as we go forward. And next slide there, Sheila. The journey home, as we said a little bit, it was all very blurry. My daughter really scared us one day. We built a brand new home out in Dawson Creek, mother-in-law suite in the basement that we could travel, go see our other grandkids out in Newfoundland. And my daughter, who's a nurse, came home one day and said, "There's a job in Lake Woods Hospital. I should apply." And I went, "Ooh, this is not going to go over well." And it did not. My wife was all set. We were traveling, take care of the kids, Nana, Papa. I'd retired, semi-retired, semi-retired. But I said, "Don't worry about it. John will never get a job." 2 days later, John had a job. He's with Bimosi and water treatment. He's a manager there. And recently, Shalyn took over the second floor of the hospital. So Nana was either leaving me because she wasn't leaving the grandchildren. And so I said, don't worry about it, Nana. We'll never sell the house. We'll be here for a bit, because I was doing some really cool stuff with sport and tourism. And a day later, our house was sold. So, fate has it, we're home, and very happy to be. So when I ran into Barb, and Barb was one of the first people in. She said, well, you should think about coming back to the executive. I said, Barb, I'm up for re-election, and things are just very busy. And I did get re-elected. So I thought I'd put Barb off for a bit. And then I saw the ad at Christmas, and I thought it was the perfect fit. Coming back, helping kids, being part of my community, contributing on that side. And Barb had convinced me enough to put the application forward. And the team that we have with Sheila and Suzanne and Barb and Darcy are incredible. So I think we're in a good space, and we're going to be very excited about the executive support moving forward. As most might know, or if not, Triple Play is a local program that raises funds and works with our community groups to be advocates within the Kenora area. And those are for youth facing financial challenges and barriers, and then our opportunity to participate in not just recreation and leisure, but the arts and culture. And I think that's very broadening when you look at impacts to kids and what we're trying to look at. There's a brief history. You can go to the next slide there, Sheila. It's very compact. I just wanted to share the fact that 25 years, this is the 26th year, and the challenge of COVID was not able to let these great people and that group celebrate. But if you think back to 1995, an individual, Jack Martin, many of you know in the community, had this dream of starting the program to help kids, and that was back in 1995. And in 96, started off with supporting 3 to 4 kids, and it was literally out of a shoebox. And that passion grew, and I believe at that time I was one of those members that was in that shoebox with Jack and a few other caring people. And then the funds started to run out, and we really looked at, well, Jack had the brainstorm to get individuals at work to pay, and the pay $1 was really the start of creating some funds to create opportunities. Back in 1998, services and agencies started to get involved. 99, Triple Play created, that was when Triple Play name came. And for the politicians within the group, Triple represented all 3 municipalities. So the Triple and then the Play was the acronym of Positive Leisure Activities for Youth. And it just continued to grow. And in 200, if you can imagine 100 kids, or that opportunity for 100 kids, it just started to grow, started to fester, and there was a bigger, greater need within the community. And all of a sudden, Trillium gets involved, and in 2003 with some grant money for a coordinator, and now 400 kids are impacted, and we're serving that. And it grows to the point of 2018, 2004 to 2010, more and more kids get involved, more need, more collaboration within the community. And yet at times, the identity of who you are as Triple Play was a constant struggle. And in 2018, and 68 community groups were helping. And so it's just to sort of a capture of that brief, to give some people that might not know exactly how long Triple Play. I believe I saw as Rotary been, I believe, over 100 years. So you think about 100 years to 25, but within that 25, when equal challenges, equal issues, some of the challenges and beliefs that we do. And if there's a person on this call that doesn't believe in their community, I wouldn't think you'd be a volunteer doing what you do. Next slide, please, Sheila. It gives why I put this up. I just wanted to give a little bit of context to where it grew to 2018, because it was probably some of the highest numbers pre-COVID. And when you look at 1,162 kids involved in leisure activities and sports in their past year, just because of Triple Play, you could see the impacts were huge. So you have to ask where those patterns and trends are happening within your community and start to really ask the whys. But 41 activities, different activities and outlets for kids that participated. I think that's great. I remember when we were a kid, you never really asked if those online would remember the pods of community where Q8, and then if we're really lucky, Mom would let us go over to Norman and maybe visit the Roy family and the Nault family. And then there were community pockets of Rideout and Pinecrest and Central and Jeffrey Melick. And we played within those communities, and everyone seemed to take care of the community. And if we remember our grams and our gramps and they all had to share in making sure that kids got home or from the rink. And, if you're lucky in Q8 and you got Mrs. Grafham's boiled hot dogs that sat there for 4 hours, and they were a treat, right? So you look at how many people started back in 2018, and then, the actual dollar amount that went back into providing registration equipment, almost $58,000. So I wanted to give you a little bit of context as we move forward into some of the challenges that we've got, and in the last 10 minutes to share with you about that. Are we in devastating times? Yes, we are. And I use those terms as a recreation graduate and someone in a community that looks, and this isn't just a localized issue, but devastating type of impacts. The closure of facilities, and many that enjoy the pool, the recreational amenities that we have, the rec center has been closed more than it's been open since I've been home, right? And what we're seeing is modifications to programming. And if hockey across the country, I think we only had a couple of provinces that actually had a season. Some would get up and start it and then stop. And if you would, as volunteers, you understand those impacts of what a modified season looked like. And a modified season of 3 games for my grandson was almost devastating. And then what were those significant challenges? If you're a volunteer that might be through the second term of losing soccer at the field or baseball, you could almost lose your whole organization. So, Triple Play looks forward to return to play, and we use that acronym of return to play. It's one that you see out there a lot, but ours is positive leisure activity for youth. And I think that's part of the key as we move forward. And as we prepare, that the executive and the advisory committee has really much taken an approach to regroup, refresh, and refocus. And a little bit of an acronym to some degree, but if you think we're not busy, it might be some of the busiest work we're doing right now. And I would believe as well, anyone in the challenges of what you see of returning, there's reports all the way through. So when we return to play the 21 season, we're almost, well into halfway into the 21 fiscal side of operations. And, we want to look forward to, again, to be hopeful opportunities to support the equal numbers of 1,000 plus kids. Last year, going into 2020, we were lucky at the end, once COVID hit, of over 100 registrations. So you go from a high of 1,100 in 2018 to 100. But trust me, we had a lot of calls. We had a lot of organizations that looking for support. But use the example of the ski hill. Everyone, understanding the challenge of starting, stopping, shortened season, and then returning funds and people and some of that. So when we look at the impacts and challenges, and I'm doing pretty good, Sheila. I've got 3 sort of screens going on. I can see the Rotary on one side, and I've got my up on this side of my speaking notes. But there was a recent study, and if you have some time and wanted to look, Jumpstart State of the Sport report, you just have to go into Jumpstart. And Jumpstart is like a parallel program across Canada, similar, working with kids, and some of the work they did. Majority of parents in the research said their kids were starting to feel isolated and lonely and finding it hard to reduce stress and anxiety. 69% say that their kids are showing signs of being less physically active. And I would think those are generous numbers. But that, and I guess it may be easier because I do have my own 2 projects in front, and they're 10 and 12, just turned 10 and 12. And I'm now seeing those impacts. And for those online that know, my passion has been on the hockey side, but everything is measurable in every sport, every leisure, every cultural activity that our kids try and do today. So that feeling of isolation, and Darsh and I have talked about this, on what about the mental health impacts to those kids? And, as an adult, I even feel some of those pressures. I'm so tired of Zooming. I'm so tired of team meetings and chats. I want to reach out. I would 100% prefer to be in front of you at a Rotary luncheon. Not only that, John, I could probably get that free meal as a guest with you and get to understand a little bit more about what you're doing. So how do we look at some of those studies? And you look today in 2 key findings. The impacts of youth is severe, and it will be the return to normalcy will not be quick or easy. And I think that's where you start to look and say, quick and easy. We all just think it's just gonna, it's like we're gonna announce today that it's all gone. And I don't believe that challenge in sport, when you look and say, we're now starting at Hockey Canada to worry about what the fall and how we look back. And I worked on a facilities return to safe space And not only that, then you have to drive that at a national sport level all the way down to your local associations. And if your local association, volunteers are feeling that same, quick and easy will be a word that you're not going to hear. And when you look at this, 2/3 of the parents of children 4 to 17, it's going to have a strong impact on whether their kids are even going to be able to participate. So not only do we have that time and quick and easy and re-engaging and setting our volunteers up, but things like overcoming barriers of financial burden. Will you have to make a decision? Hockey Canada, it's an alarming stat that we believe 20% of the kids didn't play nor may not return. And then there's even more alarming statistics when you look at females in the game. And if you make that decision, in today's statistics, is it going to be your son or your daughter? And I can tell you who's losing out. It's your daughters. So not only is it there, but and then we look at bigger pictures of how do we return kids, and are we even setting them up for failure just by registering them? So lots of interesting work that we're looking at. I have another quote here that says, "The crisis at the grassroots level is matched only by one of facing Canadian children experience high lows of trauma, social isolation due to the pandemic. Sports gives children a chance to boost their self-esteem, nurture their creativity, help and excel in school, and connect to their communities. Sports needs to be reaching their full potential, and the absence of sport during tumultuous times have led to a decline in both physical and mental health of children." And our discussion today is about that. Every one of us, as we go and we knock on doors, as we return, even greater impacts will be as we see. So setting that up, I believe, I'm not telling you anything new, but we at Triple Play right now, we're really trying to take that regroup, refresh, refocus. And one of the things I said to Barb when I came back was, this becomes a bigger challenge for me than I ever had hoped to. But I say I hope that and trust me, this is the heart and soul and foundation of a lot of the volunteer side of raising money. But we just have to look beyond what burger selling at the soccer club is going to be. How do we find connections to our community? How do we start to look at? So you go to our Facebook today, and it's really heartbreaking to see that our locker room is closed, that we can't accept. Due to the pandemic, we cannot currently accept equipment, and everyone knows that everyone likes to clean the garage at spring. We're not even getting that opportunity to accept that. I've been sort of allowing people to dump it on the road, and I'll go down and collect it and put it in my garage. But we have not had a chance yet to really work with that. So we're going to look at what is Triple Play doing and how are we looking to regroup. So I'm going to give you some ideas around the locker room, realignment discussion we've had with our task teams, how we're looking at starting to do some engagement back with community experts within the community, and not only within the community, but national sport organizations and bodies. Talk a little bit about strat planning, our financial, and the gift to play, and some communication work. So I wanted to, you can leave that slide there, Sheila, and I'm just going to touch base here. Strategic planning, Betty Wires, for some that know Betty, she's an old M&R friend and a great supporter of Triple Play. And she commits her time to helping us strategically. So the first week I started, we were looking at communication, marketing, building a strong foundation of resources to strengthen our presence, celebrate Triple Play. I certainly looked at the advisory committee, and I'll tell you maybe one of the biggest challenges we have moving forward might be our volunteerism, and then financial stability. So when we gathered all three of those, we started to say, start with the locker room. We closed the locker room. We're not taking applications, but I can guarantee everyone on this call that we're ready. When we're ready to reopen, when we're ready to realign with the COVID guidelines, we'll be set to go. Realignment of the executive and advisory committees has been huge. When I came back, we did individual calls with every advisory group over an hour. So probably the first 24 hours was just talking to people and saying, okay, Kelly, you're helping us out. What is it like for you? Why are you involved? What is your cause to be on the volunteer advisory committee? What do you see changes moving forward? And so we got ourselves lined up, and there was a lot of discussion about, if we're going to have volunteers, we need to engage volunteers. So that discussion of task teams, work groups, and we started to look at pillars. And within pillars, we have a financial challenge, and we have events and fundraising. Those are probably two things that every day the Rotary has to look at. Work groups, we started to look at communication strategies. And the first communication strategy, and I joked before, was we have to find a way that John Dahl will share the radio station with us, and then spread that love a little bit. But in all fairness, John, you're incredible. You've been there for a long time, and we thank you for what you do. If I can't poke at a fellow Rotarian, I should just pack it up. So we're looking currently at some family engagement work through the task teams, and we've done an equipment review, and we're processing to look at a better way for distribution and collection of equipment. And then right now we have 3 kind of projects we're working on: a family engagement opportunities of activities encouraging family participation together with focus of outdoor and adventure challenges, purchase of sport and equipment leisure. Darsha did a great job with one of our advocacy groups members, and we're looking at creation of sport and leisure activity bags that we can get out to kids that currently have been locked up, get them some soccer balls, get them some volleyballs, some frisbees, a package that we know that we're going to directly impact some of those kids that A, maybe financially can't, B, can't get out, don't have the support, and C, are maybe the most impacted in the community. And then we're also looking at a great project as well. And it's a Rotary type support project, and that's with your Now program and nutrition on weekends. We're looking at additional supplies that we can support that program with, in things like bubbles and chalk and coloring books and arts and crafts, and something small enough that can go with that program as the meals go out, which I want to compliment. I don't think anyone would ever believe, and if you want to dig down in the roots of your community, if we don't have nutrition for our kids, where do they start? And I want to compliment you. We have a great program, had a great program in BC, but it's amazing how much we take for granted that people have. So a compliment and a kudos to the Rotary on that as well. Subject matter experts. It's critical that we, as we go forward, that we start to share. And I want to use an example. We started off with a discussion with Beaver Brae, and it was about the bikes program. And as everyone knows, we had a great bike program that Beaver Brae recycled the bikes back through Mike Kranick, and we got them in the hands. Well, with COVID down, we have not had any access to those bikes at all. And so a program of looking, but that discussion started other discussion about what does the academy look like? How many kids are you impacting within your community? And say there's 300 kids that through grade 4 to grade 12 participate in sports, and 55% of our Beaver Brae currently is Indigenous kids. And without the Indigenous kids playing, where we might not even have a girls' high school hockey team. But yet, what are we doing to the culture of that side during these really COVID pandemic times? And if we talk about the challenge of mental health and anxiety and coming back, I posed a question, and here's as simple as 20 kids play at Evergreen, play in the academy. So if you get from home to school, they will get you to the rink and back, and probably somewhere within their nutrition. But only 2 of those 20 kids are actually registered in sport. 2 of 20. So are we setting kids up for failure by giving equipment, providing registration without the cultural component side of that? And I would think that every other sport, whether it's skating, skiing, swimming, might be facing those same challenges moving forward. So we're looking at alignment of some of those. Maybe we need to have a discussion with the mental health. We need to reach out to our health unit side of that. We need to engage people that work with kids and find a better way to help our minor hockey association, who are facing, tumultuous times and trying to get just kids to register. But are we understanding that if we have a child that falls through the cracks, that sits in our triple play side, A, doesn't have the chance to get support to get from A to B for transportation, but if it's not fun for those kids and the first experience is no good, I can guarantee you they're not coming back. So we're going to look at some bigger collaboration within the community, and we got some great examples of that happening. The biggest and most challenging is probably our financial stability. Establishment back in 2006. I think, Barb, these were what you provided this morning was an endowment fund in partnership and works with the Kenora Lake of the Woods Regional Community Foundation. And annual income from the growth of that fund helps us support our program. And equally right now that sits at, I believe, over $120,000 to $130,000. And we also had one creation of the Richardson Challenge back in 2006. Jim and Leanie Richardson match us up to $3,000 annually with triple play if we can provide new donor and partnership within that will commit to a 3-year commitment. So if you came online and committed $1,000 for 3 years, the Richardson family would match that, and that's a huge sort of a foundation to where you look. And yet outside of that, between the endowment fund and the Richardson Fund, we really need to look at different ways of donor opportunities, and maybe even working in collaboration with people like the Rotary. If there's, I'm not sure we can get in on that early discussion of the wine opportunities, but we'll certainly explore anything that we can do. And the last thing, and I'm just looking at my watch, I really want to make this, wrap this up for you, but I think one thing that we started to talk about was the rebuild of the volunteer network. And I would think that Rotary, if I look and I remember, there's a lot of change to the Rotary faces on this call today. And that's good and it's healthy. But the question I would ask is, why are you there? What is your cause? And what we're finding at the national level, volunteers are changing more and more. And we need to find out the way of measuring you as the volunteer. We need to review not just national, but global trends. And we need to look at why. And what is the capacity that we offer as a volunteer? How would we even go out and recruit for someone to be with Triple Play? Many have professional skills in our community that don't want to commit to a full, but hey, I can help you with a fundraising project, or I can help you do some work on strat planning, like I referred to Betty. So we're doing some really big work on volunteerism as well. So we need to define those roles and the boundaries of volunteerism, and certainly we need to, yes, last slide's fine, Sheila, we can flip to that. Bridging that gap between what it looks like. And if you remember what happens when you give a child that chance to play, in this our mantra is today, you succeed for tomorrow. And without that, and I believe we have challenges in our community? Sure we do. What doesn't? And I will only tell you as Rotarians, I am proud to be back. I am a Canorian. And when people say we have challenges, sure we do. But I came from a city that had lots of challenges as well. And I think many of the Western communities have that. But entrenched within that are people like yourselves, like Rotarians, and do great things. So I thank you for that. I thank you for the opportunity. Open it up if there's any quick questions. And I do apologize, I might have went a little long.